Okay, so because Tucker? I just worked with the Tucker yesterday. That's why it's hard for me to remember. All right, so because Tucker is a little bit dog reactive, we're going to work on a technique. It's called a reverse sit. It's to help the dog learn to focus on you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep him right in front of me. I'm going to rapidly take 3 steps backwards. And then once he sits, I'm going to give him a treat, and I'm going to assign the command word focus to it. So eventually you'll be able to do this in places where there are other dogs, not when they're close. You're going to want to have a great distance so that he can see the other dogs, but he can practice. Now when you do this, typically you want to, let's say there's a dog that's barking over there. When we're practicing this, we would want the dog to walk away from the dog. So I'm going to be facing the dog's going to be at his back. Now it's going to be hard for him to turn around at a dog, but when you're doing this exercise, you want to be moving away from the dog, is my whole point of saying it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I have the leash tied to my belt. I want it going down, I'd like it probably going down a little bit more than this one is, but we don't want to go on the floor because he'll step on it with his paws. So I'm going to get him over here, put him in a sit. Now treat delivery speed is really important. You probably can't see my head in this, right? Mm-hmm. That's fine, you don't need to. For this, you want to keep your hands here. You don't want them drifting and lazy because this is confusing for the dog as to where the treat is. So I keep my hands here on my belly. Now this is, I'm going to show you like a 3-second delivery. That's pretty fast. This is how fast you want to go. So what I do is I just hold it right in front and let him nibble it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 sudden steps backwards, and then I'm going to ask him to, and I'm going to reward him when he goes back into a sit. Now speed is important. Like we talked about earlier off camera, is if you're walking your dog slowly, it gives your dog time to kind of look around. Oh, there's a squirrel, there's another dog, there's a cat, there's all these things I can do. But if I'm moving fast, I have to focus on my handler, and I got to focus because dogs typically run faster and walk faster than we do. So moving slow sometimes gives the dog the opportunity to get in trouble, or moving fast helps them learn to focus on you. And that's what this exercise does. It teaches them to focus on you. That's why I assign the word focus. All right, buddy, you ready? Focus. Focus. So I'm always pulling it back all the way, but when I deliver it, so we've got to be really fast. Now I'm going to do this this orientation because we have a little bit more space in your house. And this might take a little bit more time for him, so we might actually have to move outside. Focus. So I want to, as soon as his butt hits the ground, I'm delivering the treat right away. I'm not saying the word until he touches it. Focus. Now if I want to turn him around, I'm going to do a U-turn. Focus. Now I'm using what's called a flash lure because he kind of got off the line. So if you're doing this, I'll do it this orientation, you can see it. So if I'm doing this, Tucker. If I'm stepping backwards and he starts going over here, I can go like this, Tucker, and bring him back to the center. Focus. Tucker. Now if he starts losing attention like he is now, focus. Focus. Sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 of these in a row because I want him never to know, come, when it's coming. Focus. So I have a whole, so sometimes you might, if he's drifting off, like he is now, focus. So every time he looks up at the human, treat comes, not necessarily every time I look up, but it happens frequently. So what you're going to do is you're going to practice, and we're going to probably go out in your backyard and practice so we have a little bit more room, but it's a hot day. So maybe do this earlier in the day or late in the evening when you have a little bit of shade. But again, this is called a reverse sit, and what it is to get the dog used to moving towards you and then sitting down and looking up at you and giving you its full attention rather than the other dogs around. Now the nice thing about this is if we have, let's say we're at a park, and at first what you should do is you should practice in your backyard or in your house. Your house is a little bit snug, it's nice and cozy. So you want to be able to go 3 steps, stop, 3 steps, stop, 3 steps, stop. Do that 4 or 5 times. Inside most people's houses, you don't have that kind of room. So what we want to do is at first practice when there's nothing else around, not even his roommate. until he's like right there. Now, again, if he starts going off the side, flash lure. Flash it and then bring it back to center, bring it back. And if you have a dog that consistently always drifts one way or the other, when you're stepping back, focus. So I bring him back to my center line and I can just offer and just do this to keep him here in the front. Focus. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to focus on doing this exercise without anything else around. Then what we want to do is we want to start doing it in more challenging situations. Maybe do it in your front yard when there aren't any other dogs around. Go to a park where there are no other dogs and practice at a park. Go to a farmer's market or places like that. But again, no other dogs around. Then what you want to do is go to a park or somewhere where there are dogs, not a dog park, but a park where there are going to be dogs, where you can do this and increase the distance between you and the other dog. And so that when you're doing this exercise, the other dog, he can maybe see it, but he's so far away, I don't perceive it to be a threat. And you want to do it, when I typically do it, when I want to start introducing a dog, I want to keep the dog on that side of us or that side of us. So the dog can kind of see it out its peripheral. Now, if the dog is reacting and you're doing this on a regular walk later on, and there's a dog here, I would want to orientate and walk myself away from the other dog so that dogs only focus on one thing at a time. So I take his focus, put it on me, and the other dog is there that he's reacting to. He can't react to both of us simultaneously because I have treats, he's focused on me. And because we practice this in other situations, he's trained to focus on me. So this is basically an exercise where you want to practice it in the easiest situation possible, then start at, when you're doing it inside or in your backyard, during fireworks would not be a good time because they freak out at it. But maybe you have to bring out a little portable stereo, play some music a little bit louder, so more distractions. Have a friend come over and have your friend do this. When you get really good at it, what I typically do before I go to other dogs, do they respond to squeakers, squeak toys? So what I would do is have one of your friends, your mom, and so you're doing this exercise. So in the middle of you walking backwards, right before he sits, she squeaks it. So now he's got to focus there, but he's trying to focus here. So what am I focusing on? Well, what we're doing is training him to focus on us and ignore other stimulus. So at first your mom does it, the squeaker toy. Now if the squeaker toy makes him lose it and he loses all concentration, have your mom move to the far side of the lawn. So the squeaker is not quite as intense. And then eventually she should get a little bit closer, and do it at different times when you're backing up. Is it still recording? Okay. And then eventually you would have her, when you're backing up, she throws the ball right behind him. So it bounces like right a foot or so behind him while he's focused on you. So we recreate all these different distractions in your backyard, a controlled setting where we don't have to worry about it. Once he's established it for that, that's when we want to go to a park or somewhere where we're going to see dogs. They're going to be on leash. They're going to be kind of, or they're not going to be near you. That you practice this, and then eventually you're going to get him closer and closer to these other dogs. Now, if he can't pay attention to you, he's freaking out the other dog, you're too close. So always increase your distance until you find a distance where he's comfortable and he can focus on you, and then gradually start getting a little bit closer to the other dogs. But when he starts getting frustrated or you start getting frustrated at the end of your limit, you've been doing it a while, stop. For training, your really ideal situations, you don't want to go longer than 5 minutes. 15 minutes is your max. But if you're doing this and there's a dog, and then the dog goes away, and then you have 10 minutes, and then another dog comes, you're not actively working on it for that whole 15 minutes. But when you're actively working, that's when you keep it into 5-minute stretches are preferable. Now, a couple of little sidebars. My apprentice Tara, who's going to be very upset that I didn't bring her to a session with 2 cattle dogs, is to always end on a good note. You always want them to have a good recollection of the exercise. So it does it on positive. They feel good about themselves for mastering something. The other thing is I like to actually play with the dog a little bit afterwards. So after we get into this, we walk away if there's no other dogs nearby. We throw the ball a little bit. I rub the belly. Well, not him. We don't want to do the submission thing. We're actually by his ears. Run with him a little bit, play a little tag. So we want him to not only, so this is, I do my work, I feel good about my work, and then after my work, we get a little playtime. So that makes it a good positive experience. He looks forward to it. And like I said, but after a while, you say focus, and he's going to run in front of you and sit and look at you and not react to the other dog. The dog that I am about to rehome named Max used to be dog aggressive, want to kill every other dog, and was anxious with people. I just did in the College World Series yesterday. We were practicing the focus while we were walking around the little village of all the souvenirs and the tailgating and people drinking beer and all that. Every once in a while, I look how he's distracted. I focus, run over, and just sits down and looks up at me. That control will help him learn to not react to other dogs. So this is how we practice the reverse sit.